Welcome to another edition of Why Are You Awake? Paul Farahvar here, your host. This week we have comedian Ki Harrell. Make sure you follow him on social media over here. Also follow me on Instagram and social media if you aren't already. If you're listening to this podcast, go over to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Paul F Comedy and watch us live. Check out my website, Paul F Comedy, for upcoming dates. Also, don't forget to check out our sponsors. Hey gang, as some of you know, I used to be a practicing lawyer in Chicago. I no longer practice, but from time to time, I need a lawyer. And when I need a lawyer, I call my friend Scott Shapiro. Scott Shapiro has been practicing law for over 25 years in Chicago. He does it all, from workers' compensation to personal injury, employment issues, and even entertainment law and contract needs. If you need a lawyer, call my friend Scott. 312-648-8800. That's 312-648-8800. Or you can email him at scott@scottShapiroLegal.com. Tell him I sent you. You're welcome. Welcome to another edition of Why Are You Awake? Paul Farahvar, your host. This week we have comedian Ki Harrell. Ki.
Woo!
What up?
How are you?
I'm okay. Thanks for doing the podcast.
Thank you for having me, brother. We tried for a very long time.
Yeah.
I'm glad we finally got it.
Well, I knew with you it would be an easy one because you are, I feel, more of a night owl than I am.
I'm up.
Because I've gotten texts from you and I'm like, is he up? And then I get mad. I'm like, he can't be up later than me.
I am
get
up.
Very competitive.
Yeah.
But you did the old my singles only podcast.
Hell yeah.
I just Googled it, episode 329, which is 2 years ago.
I watched it a couple months ago. I was like, oh, this was fun. It was like very like
Watched it or you
insightful.
listened to it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, this is like so insightful. This was like good. I loved it.
All that information, did you use it? Did it absorb into that head of yours?
It was about my big ex that I really loved.
Yeah.
The thing that really helped me get over her was getting chlamydia. Wildly enough. That's
What?
kind of the yeah. It's
I don't remember
wild.
this.
Well, that happened after, and then
From her.
No,
Okay.
I got it from
A random.
kind of. I knew the random.
Okay.
but then I accidentally gave it to another woman,
Your ex.
not her.
Another person.
Yeah, and so then when that happened, I kind of had like a sit down moment where I was like, maybe there are just some things that are my fault that I do wrong. But since I'm like a comic, I like argue my way out of it too much. But there's no way to argue your way out of giving a person chlamydia.
Okay. We'll get to the fuckboy status that you may or may not have.
That's not me.
But like I've had a lot of close calls, but thankfully I've never had chlamydia.
Never.
And I was kind of a whore.
Have you had anything else?
I've had things. Yeah.
Gonorrhea?
No, I haven't had that either.
Yeah, that's a pirate's disease. People shouldn't get that one.
Chlamydia, isn't that like a temporary thing?
Yeah, it's bacteria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like whoever gave it to you knew or should have known that they had it.
Possibly, because when I gave it to the woman, I had no idea.
Oh, there's no like pain or anything?
I didn't have anything. So then I'm just enjoying myself. And I'm like, well, maybe I should go get tested just to like be safe.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, it's going to be fine. So I'm like still seeing her and like fucking her. And then it came back and I was like,
What did you learn? That you're like, it's not worth it to just fuck around or what?
no, I knew that pretty shortly after my ex left and broke my heart. I miss her every day. But it was a thing of where it was a thing of where it's like when me and my ex broke up, she did like the big stink that ended us. We both hurt each other, but I hurt her years ago. She hurt me. Like,
She got
right
the last word.
Yes. And so my anger in that kind of destroyed everything. And then the chlamydia, me getting chlamydia and then giving it to someone is like, Karen, that's your fault. That's the thing that you played a role in. But when me and this girl broke up, I was like, no, this is her fault. Ignoring how I also played a role
In the relationship failing.
Yes, like
Okay.
her getting me back. It wasn't her hurting me. It was literally her getting me back.
Right.
So it's like I did have some some earnest that I needed to take with it.
Okay, so it taught you accountability.
I can go when I'm wrong. It's just if I can argue my way out of it, then I will.
Yeah.
And so it taught me that there are some things you just shouldn't argue your way out of.
I'm still learning that.
It's get chlamydia.
But I'm also like my life has always been arguing as a lawyer. And shit,
Yes.
so as you can see by all the.
I can, and I love them. It's so impressive.
Were you a big debate?
Big debater, and then I taught debate when I was in college. Went to
Oh man.
state and nationals for like extemporaneous speeches.
So you almost became a lawyer or some shit?
People have always told me that I like should have, but I know that it's not as fun as it. I want to do the fun shit. I want to pace back and forth and like
act.
Yeah.
I got to do that. You can do that as a lawyer. It's not as common, but yeah. From the podcast, it was episode 329, I believe. Did you take any of the lessons from what I taught you there to be like, okay, I'm not going to fuck comedians anymore?
Wait, did I tell y'all that I had... Wait, did we talk?
I don't know. Tell me.
Tell
them.
There's only been a couple. There's only been
You've
a couple.
done it a few times.
A couple, but then
everyone always denies it on this show. I leave and then people will message me. They're like, so and so fucking lied. We fucked around for 3 years. I'm like, They made the podcast into a house of lies.
I don't lie. Okay. That's one thing about me.
So you did it a couple times after the podcast.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Okay. yeah. And was that painful situation, or was it a like? It was fine. You guys are still cool. If you're on the shows together, you're okay.
I think because like people just have a tendency to be weird about shit. But I'm so like, this doesn't matter to the point where if they're weird, but then I see them, I'm like, hey, and I give them a hug and I'm just chatting about shit. They're just like, oh, maybe I would be weird if I act weird about this. And I'm like, yeah, you would.
So you just gaslight them into thinking it's okay.
There's nothing wrong with it. We fucked a couple times. We enjoyed each other. That's it. And now it's just like, I see you out. Hello. And then I haven't fucked a comic in, I think, if not years, then a year.
So you didn't learn anything from the podcast?
I learned everything. I just had to get my feet wet.
I always try to remember my first interactions with the guests, and I don't really remember when we first worked together or when we first met. But I do remember that there was a time where I saw you do a great set, and I was like, and then I was like, I got to get you on a show. But I don't remember, like, when did you start comedy in Chicago or ever?
First time I ever did it was 2018.
Okay.
Did a couple mics.
In Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then did like my own self-produced thing outside of the scene in 2019. Right. And then from there, I was like, oh, I'm going to get into the scene. And that's when I started hitting like some mics like Patsy's and shit in like 2019. Then the world shut down. Then I did it all through COVID on Zoom. As soon as the doors opened back up, I had been doing it like the entire pandemic. So then I just hit the ground running.
When you said you produce your own shows here in Chicago, what you just started from scratch? Random
places, and then I would just get like people that I knew from like school and just be like, come do some jokes on this. And I would like close it, and I would do like 15, and it would be like, but it was not like in the scene. I wasn't in the scene.
From school, meaning
college.
Where'd you go to school at?
DePaul.
So you went to DePaul, and there were just people that did comedy.
People that thought they were comedians,
okay,
but they were like, I don't even think that we had comedy writing and shit like that at DePaul when I was there. But people that were like in the like theater kids, and they'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll come and do 5 minutes. So I would get like 6 people to do 5 minutes, and then I would do 15. And
what did you graduate? What did you go to school for?
Interpersonal communication. So it's like psychology, but without having to know like the amygdala, the frontal lobe, all of that shit. I didn't want to learn about
not the medical aspects.
Just what do we do? And kind of why. It was beautiful. We learned like argumentative rhetoric, fallacies, communication and dating. It was like beautiful.
That's where you learn to just hug people to avoid conflict or conversation.
I learned all of it. If the hug don't work.
If you want to avoid any conflict, just hug the person.
Hell yeah. It helps.
Walk away before they can talk.
They'll shut up. Learned how to gaslight. And I wish I would have known this when I was debating. I have a decent understanding of fallacies, but to the point where if I'm arguing with someone, I will use a couple. But if they can't call it out, then I'm like, oh, they're no match to begin with anyways. I'm going to win this argument.
You came to DePaul to study this?
Come to Chicago to do comedy. I didn't give a fuck about school.
Oh, okay. So how did you convince your family that you were going to?
I didn't get the degree.
How long did you go to college for?
So stupid. I finished my first 3 years. But I finished.
So you only had 1 year left?
Yes. But I finished my major in the first. I loved my major.
All the classes. Yeah.
I did all of them. And I was on Dean's List. Like, I was cooking. I was doing great. And then when that last year was coming up, I was like, oh, I finished my major. Like, let's get out of here. And they're like, you have all these gen eds to do.
Oh, that's the worst.
And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, man. I'm like, no. And when I dropped out, I was like, well, my mom knew. She's not happy about it at all. But, like, she knew. And then she was like, have you re-enrolled for classes? And I was like, no, we'll do it. And because I am very much so the type to re-enroll for classes the day before classes start.
Do you think you're going to go back to school, or you don't know yet?
I would like to have a degree. Just like as a black man, I think having a degree is nice. They keep talking about it to me like a fallback plan, and I'm like, that's not going to happen. I'm like 85% full-time comic. There are 2 things that involve kids, and I just like working with kids, and then these schools just happen to pay me well for it. But I literally work like 2 days a week. And so it's like I'm not going to get a job.
Or maybe you become a successful comedian, then you just take night classes or some shit just to get the degree.
I would find a way to cheat my
Pull
way
like a
into
Charles
something.
Barkley or something like that.
I would do like an honorary something. I just want a degree.
And I do think it's funny that you said as a black man, because recently we did a show together. And did someone ask you the question, or is part of your joke where you're like, I'm not a mixed child, I'm black?
That got asked. Got asked after the,
And then I went right after you. I was like, I've known Kai for 5 years. And I thought I didn't know you were 100% black. I was like, I just assumed you were like a mix.
It happens all the time. This actually abnormally gorgeous woman that I have like seen in person several times, we have chatted randomly today. She slid up on my story and she was like, what ethnicity are you? And I just said abnormally light skinned, but I'm black.
Are your parents
both black? My mom is light skinned. My dad is like brown, copper. My mom's something like, something.
Sure.
My mom's mom is dark.
You're like lighter than me.
I know. It's insane. Don't look at my hands. My hands are Caucasian. That's not any better.
Yeah, you're like a white dude.
I know. My mom's mom is dark. My mom's dad is darker than me and my mom, but still light skinned. My dad's mom is light skinned.
Allegedly. We don't know. There's got to be a white blood in there somewhere.
Someone definitely infiltrated at some point when it was,
Do you have siblings?
I have one sister.
And is she?
Wildly light skinned.
Both of you guys are?
Yeah. But my mom's a child of 9. And so my mom is one of the only 3 light skins in the family.
Light skin. I just like when you say it. It sounds so fucking weird. When I would do acting roles and stuff, you're the demographic they want. They want ethnically ambiguous.
Right. But I think that because of my hair, that pigeonholes
your
me
hair
in a lot
is
of
different
shit.
too.
Because they'll go, well, you're too
dreads.
light skinned and too like smiley looking to be like the thug that we want to cast you for with your hair.
Yeah.
But also, like I feel kind of like I'm in a weird spot when it comes to like these castings, right?
They like to have things where people in the audience can't figure it out, especially commercials. You could probably get more commercial work, which is where the money's at.
I think it's the hair. I think I have to do something with the hair.
Can't you like hide it?
I've done it.
Like right now, people can't see that you have like dreads. I'm imagining you without your hair. You kind of look like a nerd.
I know. Because I think if I cut the hair, I'd have to get rid of the glasses. But this helps. I think my hair, it's unique. It's like a signature point of me. If I cut it, I have to be handsome as fuck. If I look normal, I'll be pissed.
Hair is important. That's all I got is my good hair. Did you always have the dreads?
No. In college, my first year of college, they fell. That's when they finally fell. Because these are all freeform. I've never got them twisted or braided or anything.
You say fell.
Because I was having an afro, and then while it was being an afro, my hair just started to lock up. Black hair is awesome, Paul.
When you say lock up, what do you mean?
It would like dreadlocks. It would lock
form
up.
Dreadlocks.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it would fall down.
They would still be up though.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, and I hate to say this because my fucking racist teachers in Ohio would say it, but they kind of had a good point. It looked like kind of like Sideshow Bob-esque.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Because it was up in the air.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And then I blow dried my hair one day just because I was like, I didn't want to wait. I was in a rush, and then it fell, and I was like, oh, I guess this is just my hair now.
That was in the plan.
I didn't know. There was no plan really. I just kind of just let it. Whatever was going to happen was going to happen. My mom was pissed for a little while. My mom used to say she would kick me out of the house if I ever got dreadlocks.
Fun fact that probably never talked about before, but
you had dreadlocks.
I was going to get dreadlocks.
No fuck. Are you being dead ass?
No, I'm dead serious. So I was a musician at the time, and this girl I was dating was like, it was when Counting Crows was still big. I don't know if you know Adam Duritz, the singer of Counting Crows, had dreads. White dude with dreads. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it for the summer before I started law school.
Yeah.
The process was so complicated.
It's horrible for y'all hair. Yeah. Because they have to
But
back
I grew it
comb
out.
it.
Yeah. I grew it out, and then they were like, you can't wash it for 30 days or something like that. I was like, I can't not wash my hair.
Yeah. This is like the blackest thing about me.
But I did want them because I was like, that would look cool on stage. This is when I was a musician, so I was like, that's gonna be my thing.
And then so wild.
Yeah, I would have been fucking weird.
Oh my
and
God.
I opted instead for a Caesar cut like Ross on Friends.
You would have got chlamydia if you had dreads. I can promise you that.
No, I don't think so.
White guys with dreads, they get fucking chlamydia.
Who's a white guy that has dreadlocks that you know?
I've seen a billion of
Any
them.
famous people? Really?
Famous? I don't know. Just like normal people, like at
the
festivals.
only person is Counting Crows, Adam Duritz. He's the only one.
I don't know him, but I've seen people at
You don't know
just
the
like
band Counting Crows? Come on, you do. Mr. Jones, the song. Whatever.
Me and Mr. Jones.
No,
I know that one.
Forget it. I'm not getting into this thing. Okay, so you came here. You came to DePaul.
Mm-hmm.
You knew you were going to do comedy, but the only way to get out of Ohio was to
tell my parents I was going to college.
And they were cool with that.
So I only auditioned. They didn't know the plan. I mean, they did.
What was
the plan? Is just I'm leaving Ohio. I hate my family. I'm leaving. I have no ties to be here.
Yeah.
And this isn't a place to perform. And I didn't know that it was going to be stand up. I just knew that I was going to entertain because I'd been doing sketches online and they were doing well. I had improv experience. I had acting experience. I'm like, I'm leaving.
Where in Ohio were you?
Cincinnati, suburbs of Cincinnati. So I was just like, I'm getting out of here. So I say audition every time. I only applied to schools in New York, LA, and Chicago.
So you knew you were going to be a performer. Mm-hmm. Were you doing performance in high school? Mm-hmm. Like on theater? You were a theater kid?
Not the plays.
Okay.
So we would have these talent shows. You can host it. And then if you're hosting it, it's you and 2 other people. And then there's just a bunch of sketches throughout. And so because I can't sing. So I never wanted to do like the theater.
It was like the Oscars. You were like hosting it and doing sketches and stuff.
Yeah. It was just like live SNL.
Sure.
And it was awesome. Like beautiful. And I was already doing skits at the time online. So people were like, oh, Kyron, you have to do this. And usually it only happens your senior year. But I got to do it my junior and senior year. And that was like a really big deal because I think only one other guy has done it before. And I just would write every single sketch. Because sometimes
for the other people to do it with you,
I wrote basically anyone. So we would book the acts, but anything that you saw that wasn't the acts, I wrote. But you could only do it. You could only host if you were in student senate. And I was bad my freshman year. I had in-school suspension 27 times my freshman year. But my grades were always good. People always liked me. It's just I would never shut the fuck up.
You had to be on student body to do it?
Yep. My sophomore year was my redemption arc. And then I became good in the eyes of the school. And then I became like a freshman mentor. So like that was like a whole dedicated bell of just like helping the freshmen.
Were you on sports then in high school?
Yeah. So I ran track since.
I can see that.
Yeah. I love track. My mom lived vicariously through me. I was a long jumper and a sprinter. Loved that shit. Basketball, football early on, but track was the main thing. I've been doing track since middle school.
So you were a popular kid, I take it?
I had a very fun time in high school.
Okay, so in high school, freshman year, did you move to that town or you grew up with those people you went to school with?
So my entire life, I was in the same school district.
Okay.
Which I'm very fortunate for. But that's not to say that I didn't have I used to get, middle school, I got my ass beat quite often.
Were you tall?
Yeah, but really built like this damn tripod. I was real frail. And people's girlfriends would think that I was hilarious, and guys don't like that.
Yeah.
And so then
still don't like it now.
No, still don't. But they're just much less likely to just beat me up in a school bathroom than they were then. But yeah. But by high school, I think I had everything kind of figured out. There were some people that did not like me, and I wouldn't go around them because I was afraid. But by my sophomore, definitely junior and senior year, everything was fine.
When you went to freshman year, were you still like that skinny kid?
Yeah.
Okay. But you were more confident, or you started working out, or you were on football?
Just funny as fuck. And then my sister, she was, how old is she? She's 6 or something. I don't know. She's older than me, and she would do sports. And so she was quiet, but she was well liked. So by the time that I got there, I knew the seniors. I knew the juniors because they all wanted to fuck my sister. So then they knew me.
Worked out for you.
It's thrown a lot of shit at me. This got said to me recently because I opened up.
Just hug it out with everybody.
And bingo.
Gaslight everyone into making your world happy.
It solves everything. I was doing there's a podcast. Harry Meredith has a podcast, and I told him about all the things that have just happened wrong in my life. And he's like, that somehow life seems to work out great for you. Because I was telling him about some crazy shit. I got molested when I was young.
Oh no.
Yeah, whatever. It was a long time ago. And we came to figure this. We now believe, because I don't remember, it's blocked out. But we now believe that it was a woman that did it, and so it's pretty good.
It's better situation. If you're gonna get molested, it's at least with a woman, and if she's attractive, it's even better.
Come on, yeah. So I was telling him things of this nature.
Positives to this.
Yes.
Well, just got canceled. This whole thing, but whatever. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, the people that I know, there's a friend of ours who had an affair with her high school student. Ooh. She's in jail now. Ooh. It's in Michigan. It was on 2020, but she was hot.
Yeah.
And she was like a girl that a friend of mine who's a comedian hooked up with her, and I didn't. And I was like, all I had to be was like a high school kid.
Yes. And it could work out.
But that guy, I mean, they had a relationship, and she kind of went crazy. It's like she could have just fucked the guy. I don't remember.
So she fucked it up? He didn't tell?
Well, I'm sure he did at some point. But he was a big dude. You look at him, you're like, oh yeah, he's a good looking old. So yeah. So it could have been you. You would have, when people are like, oh, they always joke like, oh, why didn't that happen when it's like a hacky comedian like, we didn't have that when we were around. It's like they probably did, but the guy was cool enough not to fucking narc.
Yes.
Like a pussy.
We had a teacher. She got in trouble. She had to move schools. And then there was a teacher that I was in love with that I still believe to this day she would have let me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And when I go back, I'm going to do something big in Ohio. I think for my high school reunion, I want to perform. And I'm going to invite her out. But she's married with like 2 kids now, but that won't stop me.
Rings don't plug holes, guys.
Rings don't. I love that. Yes, they don't. They sure don't.
We just got canceled again.
We'll be fine.
I always had crushes on all my high school teachers, even the ugly ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's just the way you are.
Because the ugly ones are more likely to.
Yeah.
And so it's just realistic. You got a game plan.
Low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
You're in high school. You're liked by everybody. What kind of school? Were you like the only black kid, or was it like
kind of interesting? From what I remember, our school was about 60 white, 40 black. Maybe
a mixed school.
65-35.
Where I went to high school, my friends, the black kids were like, there was like 4 out of 400 in the class. They were already going to be cool because they were special.
Yeah, they do sports and shit.
They could do sports. They were likable. They were different.
Yeah.
All the girls wanted to fuck them.
Yes.
So it's like it was a win-win.
Which, being from Ohio, I did always kind of like that. I didn't learn how much that until I started reading books and lived out here, where I was like, okay, that's wrong, but it feels kind of amazing.
What's that?
Like the fetishization.
Oh yeah.
But I was like, but in Ohio, that was sick. I loved it.
It wasn't just the fetishizing. It was also how to piss off your dad.
Bingo. You're weaponizing my penis.
Yes. And for a while, Middle Easterners were getting that vibe. Especially around 9/11.
Yes.
But now no one gives a shit about us anymore.
I do. I love it. I love Middle Eastern women. The main ex was Middle Eastern. Yeah.
I was never attracted to Middle Eastern women.
Wow.
It's really weird. If you look at all the girls that I've dated, they all kind of look the same. They're all like little blonde or redheaded white girls.
You like blonde women, Paul?
Yeah.
They're my dad said this when I was 14 years old. My dad said, blonde women are great to fuck. They're horrible to love. And it rewired my brain chemistry.
It's crazy how shit that your parents say to you sticks with you.
Yes.
So like you probably are repelling from women that are blonde hair that want to love you.
Well, the issue is I keep fucking them because he did say that. So I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, we can do that. But then it's like,
I got chlamydia again.
Got it again. I did get. Let me not give too much detail, but
the blonde white devil that your dad said. Oh, it was a blonde woman that gave you the clap,
and then I gave it to another blonde woman.
Yeah.
Christ. I feel so bad. The second lady was amazing. I did love her. She was great.
What were you doing in high school? Like, were you guys drinking and partying, or were you just kind of like a straight edge?
Not at all. I do have like a really like emotionally traumatic upbringing. So I was like really sad early on. Oh, I've always like, my family has always been brutal to me, always been mean to me.
Your immediate family?
Me and my mom had a horrible relationship.
Okay.
It really only started getting better in like 2021. So I was heavy into drugs young. I started like using nicotine when I was like 12, started drinking when I was 13, drank lean for the first time when I was 15, drank lean for a year.
What's lean?
Codeine. Well, I used promethazine and then like Sprite. Yeah. And would drink the hell out of that as often as I could get it. Would smoke a lot, would drink a lot. So like all through college and shit, I was sober because I quit, I think, so I started when I was like 12 and 13, and I think I quit when I was 17 because I was going hard. But my mom...
That's why you were all the suspensions your freshman year?
No, those were just because I like to talk
Behavior?
a lot.
Oh, okay.
I never shut up, and I would argue with the teacher. They'd be like, do this, and I'd be like, but yada, yada, yada. And they'd be like, yada, yada, yada. And I'd be like, yada, yada, yada. And people would laugh, and they're like, get the fuck out of my class.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. But my grades were always good. It's always been like a weird kind of phenomenon thing.
You got away with stuff because you were likable and charismatic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they wanted to be mad at me. And I'm like, fair, but like you just being like, shut up, doesn't make much sense when I'm doing well in your class.
Right. But were you still drinking lean and drinking in high school too? Hmm? With your friends or by yourself?
With my friends. The wildest that it got was right before I quit. So probably when I was 17, but by that time I was in Senate. And so, like, my mom, I'm like, oh, Mom, I'm going with the Senate friends. And she'd be like, look at how far you've come. And we're just getting fucked up. And, like, my friends, like, garage or, like, with their parents. It was a wild time.
Yeah. No, we would have Young Life. I don't know if you had Young Life. We had Young Life. My parents were just like, Oh, he's going to learn about God.
Yes.
And it was just the only place where we can drink on Wednesdays.
Yes. I wouldn't drink at Young Life, but that friend group that I would be with, when we would leave Young Life, we then would get fucked up. Yeah.
It was the way it was. Okay, so where else were you getting, like, I guess you were acting out in classes
online.
And shit. Okay. Oh, yeah, you had the sketches and
I had
stuff.
a bunch of videos out and decent following, like a really decent following. I was like, yeah, this thing kind of just works. Like I was like a celebrity in Ohio growing up. It was like cool as fuck. Like I would go to like football games and I would be the cheer
starter,
whatever. Yeah. But people from the other school would recognize me from online.
Instagram stuff. Oh, that's hilarious.
So then they would come over to our section. It would just be like camaraderie. So we just have like
awesome.
a huge ass student section now because people are taking videos. My ex at the time was now dating a guy that wanted to literally kill me. And so I was hyper paranoid because I just got all this like notoriety online. And this man truly wanted to kill me. And he had guns and would like show them and shit. And so I was really paranoid. So I wanted to enjoy everything that was coming from it. Like people at like gas stations would give me like free shit and like restaurant. Like it was amazing. I kept thinking that if someone takes a random video of me and then says, oh my God, why is he at this spot? He would show up and then kill me. So I got like horribly paranoid at that time of my life. And I've never been able to shed that part of me. But it's like he was literally like gunning for me. Like he would like hear that I was going somewhere and he would just like wait in his car for me to get there.
Did he ever confront you?
No.
He would just stay in a parking lot and be there?
I would.
Or you thought he was there?
No, he was. But I would like reach out to people and be like, hey, like what's going on? Who's all at the party? I would do that a lot. And then ask third party people that didn't know about all the drama. And they'd be like, no, like some like gray car was just sitting here for like 30 minutes. And I'm like, was it like a BMW? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
Did he go to school with you guys?
He did. He dropped out, and then he had to go to like jail for a little while, and then he got out. Yeah.
What area is this? You said you're a suburb of Cincinnati, like a middle class area. It wasn't like a rural town, right? Like
no, not rural. And we weren't from. I'd never have ever said I was from the hood. Yeah, everything was basically just suburb. My mom was a social worker. Both my parents were social workers.
Okay.
So that was like a normal job.
But you also didn't have like people showing up in like pickup trucks that they just got off work at the farm and stuff.
We had people showing up in pickup trucks, but just because they hated niggas.
So you leave there, you get into DePaul, and DePaul's not a cheap school. And your parents knew that the plan was that you were going to do performance out here, and they still let you come.
I would just tell them like I don't want to go to school. I'm like I want you to know like whenever they come for me for like the loans and shit that we've taken out, I'm not paying it. Like this is what y'all wanted for me. This is y'all burden.
Right.
Because if it was up to me, none of this would be an issue.
Right.
So I'm letting you know that if I go to college, it's on y'all accord. I was very clear. And so like if they were to ever threaten, like my mom threatened me with everything my entire life. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
she never threatened me with, well, I'm going to stop helping you with school because she knows I would have been like good and then left that day. My mother has helped me a lot, and I try to keep that in mind despite how she made me feel emotionally for the first 3/4 of my life. She has tried to like help me in other areas, and I really do appreciate that.
You have a bad relationship with your mom. Me too. I have the same situation, but you're like, they don't know different. They're also learning how to raise kids for the first time. Yes. And then you have an older sister that's 6 years older. What is she? See, I have an older brother that's 7 years older than me. So it's like, I get it. It seems like we always get fucked up afterwards.
We do. And me and my sister have different dads.
Okay.
Her dad is far more like than my dad by both my mother and the family. Like there was a lot of shit that they just don't, I don't think that they're, well, I know that my mother has a very hard time admitting because I'm not like, my sister's very passive. I'm not. Here's an issue. I'm saying it to your face, and I'm saying it bluntly.
Same.
I only went to school for all this shit because it was the breakup and my mother. I wanted to learn how to be my mother in arguments with like actual shit. I wanted to make my mother's head explode whenever we would argue because she would always go back to the ad hominem shit. So I would go, Mom, you did this. And she would go, well, you always fuck up and you always do. And I go, I beat you.
Right.
I beat you.
You've already lost.
You crumpled. You crumpled right there. And I got like a kick out of that.
Yeah.
And then
you'd be a great lawyer.
It was so much fun. I lived for that shit. I would go like, Mom, I'll go like, Mother, you know that like it's not a crime to be nicer to your son. And then she goes, you know how bad, like how many mothers are bad out there? Like, you know that I could be on drugs. And I'm like, this is the red herring fallacy. I didn't argue that at all. And then she'll just look at me and go like, this fucking word's out. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm actually describing.
It's a defense mechanism that they have. That's how all parents are, unfortunately.
Yes.
When you confront them on stuff. Before you come to DePaul, were you staying up late and getting into trouble, or were you just kind of like?
I never really got caught for anything except for maybe Maybe she found some weed somewhere once, but
when did you start smoking weed?
14, I think. Probably around like 14.
But you weren't like using it every week. You were just like once in a while. Okay.
Pretty recreational with weed. I was drinking a lot more.
So you come here, you come to Chicago, you go to DePaul. What happens there? Did you know anyone here when you came here?
Nope, didn't want to.
Okay. So you start all over.
Uh-huh.
And then you're taking these, what's the class called? Interpersonal classes.
Yeah.
And then you're meeting people that are also in this fucking crazy major.
Well, I gravitated towards the performers. So like right when I got here, I got into like our college's improv group, like the good one, because I really looked around and asked around and just watched. And I'm like, oh, these people fucking got in with them. And then that lady, Julie Watkins, she would do this self-produced show at Second City. And she was like, hey, I have this show. She was like, and I know that you said that you wanted to do some stand-up at some point. She was like, you want to just do the show? So my first time ever doing proper stand-up was at a sold-out show at the Second City.
So you were already at Second City doing stand-up, even though you really never did stand-up before that?
That was my first time ever doing proper stand-up.
How long did you do?
5 minutes.
How'd it go?
Good.
Okay.
Not like,
It's Second City. I feel like improv crowds, like
so forgiving.
They coddle.
So forgiving.
I saw like my friends would send me their stand-up sets from taking classes at Second City. I'm like, yeah, this isn't good.
Yes.
Like they're teaching you bad behavior.
Yes.
Like
I hate watching it now, but I try to sometimes just to be happy of the progress that I've made.
Yeah. At the time you think you're crushing.
I will say for the first time ever doing stand-up, it was
Of course. Good. How did you become this like crazy night owl where you're texting me at 4:30 and I'm like, why are you awake?
I'm just chilling.
No, I am too. Yeah. Like I'm up at 4 every night.
Yeah.
No matter where I am.
Yep.
When did this start?
I've always been a night owl in scale. So like my mom would be like, you never used to stay up this late. I'm like, well, yeah, when I would have to wake up for school at 7, but I'm up at 2 a.m. It's kind of the same thing. It's just that now I don't have to wake up till 2:30, so I'm up till 7.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, I like the night because I'm so in everyone's face all day. And I'm like busy and people are like, and I'm so grateful that like I have a busy life doing what I love, but it's like, it's overwhelming. And then at night when everyone's asleep and there's no one for me to have to get back to, and there's no one for me to have to entertain, I get to do all the shit that I have to get done. So I work at night.
I get so much shit done.
Yep.
No one's texting you. You're not getting distracted.
Yep.
Dude, I hear you. You said that in high school though, you were going to bed at like 2?
When I had school, yeah. Okay.
What were you doing late at night back then?
Probably nothing.
Yeah.
Probably just enjoying
watching TV and stuff.
Because my dad's a night owl.
Okay.
So like whenever I would see my dad, he'll just be up, just doing kind of nothing.
Yeah.
And we're just around, just vibing.
So you get to hang out with your dad alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like the summers, my cousin would come over and we would not go to bed ever.
Well, in the summer, you didn't have to wake up early. So
you'd
sleep in. Like when I was a kid, I'd stay up till like 1 a.m. Not a kid, when I was like in high school. And then I'd wake up at like 11 and it was fine.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of doing the same thing. But like people think that like, oh, you're sleeping till 12. It's like I went to bed when you were going. I remember Pat Tomasulo was on WGN in the morning during COVID, and I would just text him when I'm like, oh, I'm watching right now. It's like, you haven't gone to sleep yet? I'm like,
up. Yeah.
No, I'm like wide awake.
Yeah.
Especially during COVID, my schedule flipped way worse. Like I'd go to bed at like 7.
Yes.
And I'd be like, what's the point of being up during the day?
And that's how I feel. There's no point of being up during the day except for like if someone's reaching out to me, they're like, I need to get this like printed or I need to get this whatever. But outside of that, I drive everywhere. I hate the city during the day, driving wise. Jewel Osco closes at 12. Good. I'll be there at 11:30.
Exactly. There's so many benefits to that. I mean, there's downfalls too, because like shit, like Target is funny because sometimes I'm up when they're opening. I'm like, oh, it's 6 a.m. I could fucking get this shit done now and then go to sleep and not have to worry about it. So there are benefits. But,
it's beautiful.
But the world is made for early birds. Like it's shit that closes at 5 and you're like, fuck. I just woke up like 4 hours ago.
But I don't think we really like the world. Like I love people, but can't fucking stand them.
Yeah.
And so I think that there is something like innately within performers of where it's like, I'm here to entertain y'all. When y'all get to be asleep, that's me being in the green room.
But you're also in Chicago, right? So it's different. But you and I just talked about the weekend you were in Appleton. Mm-hmm. You did shows in Appleton. Everything there is closed at 10.
Yeah.
So what are you doing on the road when you're in those towns like Springfield, Ohio, and fucking shit where...
So if you're lucky enough and you chat a person up, you get to spend a couple hours with them, and then
then they're tired at 1.
And then I get to enjoy that. So I'm like, cool, now you're tired
Go
at
back
1.
to your hotel.
Now I
Okay.
get to get out of here and just fucking enjoy my night. But I
Fair.
don't want to be just... Because at 1, there's still party in me. There's still like, I'm fine if I'm outside. But there's a point where... Because people are like, if we're hanging, if we're like rallying, doing drugs and shit, people are like, oh, you don't go to bed till 6. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to be around you until 6. Because I still have to go home and do work. Like,
Your
I'm
own
gonna
shit
write,
that you want to do. Right.
I'm going to write emails when I go home. Like, I'm not like a fucking degenerate. Like,
Do you write at night, or are you doing your busy work at night?
I do all of it.
Okay.
So I write at night, send my emails, edit videos, make flyers, reach out.
Okay, let's talk about when you're in town first. So you do a show. Let's say you're doing a show. You get out at 10 o'clock. What are you doing after your shows? Let's say it's a Wednesday night. You have your show at the Laugh Factory on
Thursdays.
So Thursday night show ends at 9:30. What are you doing?
Trying to go to another spot. So hopefully I'm booked on
Do
another
another
show.
a show. Okay.
Yeah.
You do your second show. You're done at like 10:30, 11. What are you doing then?
So then it's kind of split now. Because since I was in the ER at the beginning of October,
right.
I've been trying to be like, if there's nothing calling you, go home. But like if I'm in the mood to rage, then I'll just find a random mic, maybe get up, but also just see some of the people. Hopefully I see somebody that I want to talk
Just
to
hang
and
out.
engage with. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna head home now. And then, cause I only eat once a day too. So like I cook my meals at night. I do like everything
At night.
I just squeeze it all into this time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the times where you're not hanging out and you're, not going out to the bars. You go back home, you're cooking, you're doing all your work.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that tells you, okay, it's time to go to sleep?
Nah, melatonin. If it gets to 8 a.m., I'm pissed.
Right.
If it gets to 8 a.m., I'm upset because I really, especially because now that we just hit that daylight savings.
Oh yeah, now it's fucked up.
I don't like waking up when that big breakup happened, I was wildly depressed. Like when everyone when I really started to work in this scene and like be funny, I was wildly depressed. So like the memories that people have of me, like when they first met me, I was wildly depressed. I didn't fucking tell anybody at the time.
You're talking about 2 years ago?
Yeah, 21, 22. Okay. All of that was I was like,
yeah,
not good. And so I'm trying
because of that breakup or because of all the other shit that you dealt. Why was this such a bad breakup? You're fucking so young right now.
Yeah. I have to go through all the childhood shit to get to why it's
sure.
It was just like my family never like beat me. They never did but they it was emotional warfare.
Sure.
Which is so like gay to say. Like there's no way
No,
around. Like
you're right. I mean, we all dealt with different levels of it, and then it is kind of like, for lack of a better word, gay. When people talk about, like, oh well, that guy. What was wrong with the relationship? I heard there's like drama with people that were in a bad relationship. I'm like, oh, he was abusive. I'm like, oh, he hit her? It's like, well, no, but he was like calling her and saying he's going to commit suicide. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, that's like abusive, but you can't, it's a different kind.
Yes.
I'm not lessening it.
No,
by
I'm
any way,
agreeing with you
but
fully.
You can't cancel. Like there was a musician who got canceled because he would do that to people. I'm like, he's also just being a bitch because he's like upset and he's sad.
Yes.
But you can't say that he was abusing women, because when you say that about someone, that's the first thing you think
it
about.
holds a connotation.
Yeah.
And so I don't like to say that I got like emotionally abused, because there are real.
Well, it's different with family. Let's not get that. When you're a child,
yes,
and you're being emotionally abused, you're still a fucking child.
Yes, but I also have they were fucked up, and I have billions of examples
For sure.
But it's like as an adult, like it's kind of like there are people that have spoken to me how they have spoken to me, but I'm not gonna go like, this person is verbally abusive. I'm gonna be like, this person's a fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
X, Y, Z. And then like, because there's such connotations to words,
Right.
and I don't like to blur the lines.
Well, that's
of
what your whole
anything.
major was in. This fucking fake major of yours is all words.
It was
right?
the best major. If I would
What's
have
it
told
called
you
again?
psychology, you would have respected the fuck out of it.
I was a psych major for like a year.
It's basically the same thing.
Okay, what was it called though?
Interpersonal
Interpersonal communications.
I didn't want to learn about Freud and our amygdala. I wanted to learn about what we.
So you know about this relationship stuff. Did you take this class subconsciously because you wanted to figure out what the fuck how you dealt with your childhood
No,
shit
consciously.
trauma?
I wanted to learn about that first breakup and that new boyfriend that wanted to kill me, and I wanted to learn about my family and what was wrong with
The
them.
first breakup you're talking about from high school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
With the guy that wanted to kill me, and because she cheated
Right.
on me. So I first started studying deception when I was 15, reading like scholarly articles about it, fucking confused as hell.
You're still fucked over mentally from the second breakup, your girlfriend that fucked you over as an adult.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've made a lot of progress.
Yeah.
Like really a lot.
But you're so young. Like, how
It
long did
shouldn't
you guys
matter.
date? How long did you guys date for?
4.5 years. We started
Okay.
living together immediately.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Are you guys talking now? Okay.
I didn't get the things that I emotionally needed from my mother for my entire life. I didn't get them from my family. So I have always been the person that will seek. But I don't want to. So like I model too. And people make a big deal out of that, but it's like embarrassing because whenever I finish a modeling show, people go like, "Oh, Karen, you did such a good job," and I go, "I didn't do anything. I walked." So like the thing that I want to prove is never vain. It's always like I want to have a skill, and I'm not going to weld fucking cars, but I'm going to be funny. I'm going to be personable. I'm going to be like intelligent, and my family refused to ever give me those. My sister graduated summa cum laude, got free rides and all this shit to Vanderbilt and all that, and so she academic as a motherfucker, but in the world, how does she hold up? I don't know. She might go, well, why does this person do this? And I can tell you that. Or like have her go
Your
up
degree in interpersonal.
yes. And then like, but yeah, fuck you. But like, yes. And then like I can go up in front of a room full of people
Sure.
and make them laugh.
It's a self-worth thing, right? Because I have the same thing. My brother's a neurosurgeon, PhD, whatever. But like I have this skill set that maybe 1,000 people have at our level. So there is something there's a desire to have self-worth and everything like that. And that does play a role in us seeking attention or doing things to be a performer. So yeah, I get it. But you also know like it's not your fault. Like you're also, you couldn't have been in, if that relationship that you are still dwelling on, not your family stuff, but your girl, like it couldn't have worked because you're at the level where your comedy, you're going to see success more and more and more, and your relationship is going to can't be a priority.
I'm not dwelling on it anymore.
Not dwelling is not the word for it.
But I know what you mean, and I want to.
I'm not as good with my words because I didn't have interpersonal degree. I just had speech fucking communications. That's what we called it.
Different,
Speech
way different,
and poli sci, but whatever.
That's where I learned debating.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
But so it's like my family never gave me these labels that I not felt that I deserved, that I know that I earned. So like they would be like, we would be out and there would be like old people that would like tell my mother like, oh, you're such an old soul. You have a smart kid. Whenever I would get in trouble at school, they'd be like, Kyron is very smart. People like him. He's very good with his words. He knows how to solve conflicts. When there's drama, these teachers would call me to talk to the two kids. But you
didn't get credit for that.
Never.
No, I get that. I was the same way.
Right. And so then since I was seeking all of this shit externally, let me be funny, let me be whatever, so everyone else will give me this thing. And I know that the big problem is, Karen, find this shit in yourself. I know, whatever. But when I went looking for it, I also went looking for it in relationships. And so I spent all of my life in relationships. But then when I met her, I was like, oh wait, no, this is love. Because there is such a, you have kind of not even, it goes deeper than like scratching the itch. You have like filled the potholes that I wish would have got filled here.
Sure.
And so when she left, it felt like, and it sounds so dramatic, but like when we would fight, it felt like me and my mom fighting. Yeah. And when she left, it felt like my mom leaving.
Right. She's substituting for a hole that you didn't have filled.
Yeah. And I tried my entire life to fill it.
But your needs are going to change as you get older.
Yes. Too. I think one of the big things that I can't let go of the feeling of is how insanely perfectly aligned it was for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Because I'd never experienced it. Been in a lot of relationships, but I've never had one like that.
Have you guys been broken up for 2 years or more yet? It usually takes half the time to get over it.
Tyler Fowler, I talked Tyler Fowler's ear off about this relationship, and he gave a lot of good advice.
Tyler Fowler, that guy doesn't know shit.
He gave me a lot of good advice.
Oh my God.
Gave me this book to read, and then because of my interpersonal communication, I was like, I know this whole fucking book.
Was it The Cat in the Hat? What book did he read?
No, I think it was Green Eggs and Ham. It was something about something about attachments, and I was like, I know about this.
Transformers.
And he was like, just read it, and then I read it, and then I was like, okay, now this is
attachment theory.
Something.
Yeah,
it was something about that. And I'm like, oh no, I love this shit. Like I went through this already.
It's consistent with your your major. If
It
you
is.
finished it, you would have known that would have been the last class you needed to take. Have you been in a situation late at night where you've been like, okay, I should have gone home 3 hours ago? The last time I got drunk was actually with you indirectly, because I drink like, I was talking to someone the other day like, oh, I didn't know you're sober. I'm like, well, I'm technically not sober. I just don't drink very often.
You're just responsible.
Yeah, I'm
You're
just like,
responsible
I don't like to
person.
drink before shows. And then if I'm going to drink after shows, I know I'm going to be out. Around here, if I go drink at 1 o'clock, if it's the older comics, I know, all right, we're going to go somewhere where we can all hang out. But like at some point, if I'm the oldest person on the show, all the younger comics would be like, let's go to this guy's house. I'm like, I'm not going to a house party. I'm too old for that shit. Unless it's like, I'll look around like, all right, if Adam Burke goes, I'll go. Or something like that.
Yes.
And that's why the night at the 4th of July party, like I got fucked up. And you were there. And you were on like shrooms or something. You were in your own world.
4th of July was great.
That was a great night. Yeah. We went to Galway, I think, right? Yeah, at the end of the night. Did you make it to Galway?
I don't even remember. I only regret it if I start to feel my headache coming in. If I'm starting
while you're still out,
yeah, that's the only time where I go like, fuck, I should have went home.
Chlamydia.
Yeah, but that was a good night.
It was worth it.
It was a good night. Not worth it. Not worth all that came after it, but it was a good night. If it was just who we think it is, it was a good night.
Sorry I kept you so long. There's so many more questions that we gotta
bring
stop. You back. Kai, where can people find out more about your upcoming stuff and follow you on social medias?
The only thing that's important is go to my Instagram. It's KI_almighty. My link tree's on there. My website's on there. My link tree has everything except for my merch. If you want my merch, come watch me at a show. But everything is there. Come find me, and I'm posting more on my YouTube, so please check it out.
Kai, always awesome talking to you. I really mean
awesome
that.
Talking to you.
Thank you for doing the podcast, and thank you all for watching or listening to the podcast. Go to sleep.